Happy St. Patrick's Day weekend. It's going to be a great show today. We're going to switch it up a little bit, but let's get started. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Patrick Flynn. Welcome to this morning's A Different Perspective. I am always so glad and excited that you guys share this time with me every Saturday morning. It's March 18th today? St. Patrick's Day was yesterday. We were all kind of dressed up here at the clinic and corporate side. It was fantastic. We had a wonderful time. I dressed up kind of like a leprechaun. I even had my knickers on, and they're old golf knickers, but they're green, they're Irish, they're fantastic. We had a wonderful time here. So thank you guys for celebrating with us yesterday and all the patients that came in dressed up. We like to have fun. That's the best part. It's like, man, life is, it can be so fun if you do the wonderful things that make people laugh and smile. Everywhere I went yesterday, people were laughing at me because I was all dressed up, but I loved it because it was fantastic. So hope you guys enjoying a wonderful St. Patrick's Day weekend. Don't they, in Chicago, don't they like turn the river green or something like that? I wonder what they use. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's kind of green. I heard it gets pretty green, so I got to check that out. Someone has to send me a picture of that one. So, all right, so today, like I've always said, you guys, thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the emails. Thank you for the constant feedback. We're going to switch around a little bit today, but before we do, I always like to let you guys know, once again, we're gonna pop over to our camera today. We got Dr. Ryan, we got Christian over there. So good morning. We're going to do a couple things differently today. Christian's actually married to Aaron, our investigative, one of our lead investigative journalists here at the Wellness Way. So he works behind the scenes and he does amazing things with our franchise and leads team and stuff. So he's one of our managers here. So he's joining us today for a little thing because we're going to change around. But before we get today, what we're going to do today, don't forget that his wife spends so much time focusing on our newsletter. All you have to do to get that newsletter is scroll down to the bottom of the website, and you're going to see a nice little thing that says, put your email in there. I can honestly tell you, every Saturday morning before I get started, as I'm sipping on my coffee, it's kind of funny. This is not a joke, guys. I actually sit down and I click on, I got my coffee, and I like to just mentally chill and I'm always so impressed with what our journalists do here on a regular basis that I read the newsletter. It's kind of fun. But we continue to put good information out there for that. And remember, putting the good information out there now leads people to click that top right button. You can see at the website right there. Find the clinic, see all our doctors. They're absolutely amazing. I am fascinated. I am really fascinated the fact that when people start watching my videos and stuff like that, they don't realize that we have offices all over the world. They're like, I'm like, no. This morning, this wonderful woman on Instagram, and once again, I'll keep the name private. So that, but she emailed, she said, Doc, I'd really like to come see you. Just take new patients. I'm like, no, I don't take any patients. But where are you from? She's like, Illinois. I'm like, oh my goodness. I have two wonderful, and she was in Chicago area. I said, two wonderful offices right in Chicago. You got Dr. Veronica and Dr. Nathan. They're right there in two separate clinics. Go see them. She's like, really? But just remember, guys, as I continue to put information out there, and I am blown away every month that when Luke and Brandon and the marketing team come to me and say, look at how many millions and millions of times that we were searched or looked at through the U.S. and other countries that way, that people really don't realize that we are put videos out, put information out, we put newsletters out, but really we actually are practicing practitioners in clinics all over the country. So it's kind of neat to understand that, see people's dynamic in that. So make sure to go to our website, look at all those things. The website is no joke, the key, because we could literally get kicked off. But if you know on the website right now, a bunch of you guys are on there now, and that's why we're changing up today, and that's why Christian, that's why Dr. Ryan is sitting over there. Dr. Ryan actually graduates next month. It's kind of cool, and be another wonderful doctor out there doing wonderful things. But it's kind of cool. So Dr. Ryan, Christian and I are joining today, and just to let you guys know, it was last minute. I was like, Ryan, you're gonna be on camera. Christian walked in 5 minutes before he started, said, Christian, guess what? You're gonna be on camera today. So that's how great our team is. They're very adaptable. But here's the point. I got in this morning, and as I was going through all the autoimmune month. It's been fantastic. Thank you for all the emails. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the things that I literally had people go, you know, Doc, I went to my doctor and talked to him about your show. See, that's the whole idea of the show. The whole idea of the show is to educate you, to empower you. That's it. It's to give you a little different perspective that you can have conversations with other doctors, other practitioners, other people to say, listen, Dr. Flynn kind of put this out there. It makes a lot of sense. And that's the thing. I try to break it down to everything make a lot of sense so then you are the one empowered. Not me. I'm not trying to control you. I'm not your medical doctor trying to control you, act like I own your body, things like that. No. I plant little seeds in your head. As I've always taught everybody, I tell people, I'm kind of like mental herpes. Once I infect you, you're never getting rid of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm something that's sitting in your brain and it just resonates. It's like, it's like you got herpes, it's with you for the rest of your life. It's kind of like my words, okay? So the idea is this. I was sitting around and we were going over autoimmune markers and they were like, and I got this email. And the email came from somebody that's watching online right now. Now, when I mean online, they're on the website. So for a lot of you guys who don't know, no matter what happens if we ever get kicked off, which has happened multiple times. Wait, Travis, are we on Instagram this morning? Is it working? Hello, Instagram, my biggest audience. So we didn't get kicked off this morning. Well, it's still early yet. So. But here's what happens. We could get kicked off the platform, but there's a lot of people, even based on age groups. I had this wonderful woman. Thank you, Margaret. Wonderful woman. I know she's watching right now. I saw her pop on adp.thewellnessway.com. She's like, Doc, I don't have Instagram. I don't have TikTok. I don't have Facebook. I watch you every week on Saturday morning. And she goes, I have lots of questions. And she goes, but I noticed, and you talk about, did you do lives on your things? And she goes, every once in a while you'll pull a live. And she literally gave me a bunch of questions. I even gave them to Dr. Ryan that he has over there already. So Margaret, Dr. Ryan has your questions. We're going. And the one thing that was kind of nice, she's like, I really like your Q&As. And then literally this week, I don't know what it is, but this week I just had thousands of questions, literally. Dr. Lucas, who is down in Iowa, once again, him and I spent probably 12 hours this week individually, each of us, if not a little bit more, responding to all the questions. Just so you guys know, when you guys have questions, we take it very seriously because you know what happens? People just need a little bit of information to empower themselves, to make choices themselves. That's the thing. You send us a question, I'll give you an opinion, okay? Now, here's one thing that's kind of funny. I just watched this morning. I apologize. I know you guys won't be able to see this, but I was going through my Instagram and man, for some reason, I put out a recent Instagram, and it just went nuts. Okay, and it was kind of cool because then all of a sudden, it's really funny how people, once again, when I give out an opinion out there and share it, it's funny how people go kind of nuts and stuff. And it's kind of great because this woman, a radiologist, did just trying to discredit what I said, and I find that kind of funny. It's like, here's what happens. You ever notice that when you go to a doctor? Okay, no matter what their opinion is, okay, no matter what they tell you, you know what's one thing they say to you after? They always say, well, you can go for a second what? Opinion. Do you know why? Because the first thing they gave you was a opinion, okay? And the reason why I bring that up is this, is because I'm allowed to have an opinion, and I tell people, here's my opinion, you can take it or you can leave it. That's it. It's not meant to control you. It's not meant to, it's just plant a little seed in your head to go, And it was about mammograms. Because I will tell you right now, detrimental. And with all the technology and tools out there, there's much better things. So once again, when I'm saying about mammograms, it doesn't mean there isn't other good things that you can do that would be really good to evaluate the breast. They're fantastic medical things. And on top of it, here's what happens. Let me make this very clear. Is just because I say don't get a mammogram doesn't mean I'm trying to replace it with a thermography. Can I say that again? Just because I said don't get a mammogram doesn't mean I say replace it with a thermography, because thermography does different things. I don't even compare mammograms and thermography. I actually think, in my opinion, because now I'm going to tick off all the thermography people, if you try to make the relationship between a mammogram and thermography, I think you're misleading people. Do you understand? Because they do two dramatically different things. Now, if you're looking at medical tests compared to a mammogram, compared to other technologies they have out there that would be more effective and safe, there are other things out there that would be much better. So the minute people think that I say mammograms are detrimental, do not do them, they think I'm saying run to a thermography. No, I never say that. I actually wouldn't say that at all, because they're two different things. They look for two different things. They actually have different capabilities. There's disadvantages to mammograms or disadvantages to thermography. But there's other tools that can really do it. I just am frustrated with the fact that it's a standard of care that doctors are so programmed about, and there's already new technology that came out that can do things much better, and they don't do it because it's worth billions of dollars. Here's an opinion, and you guys can comment below on Instagram. You guys watch this, make a little comment below. Let me know if I'm off base on this. If the last 3 years hasn't proven to you that the medical system itself is dramatically flawed, controlled from up top, your doctor has no control over anything. And talk about credibility. If you look at some doctors that gave opinions that could, quote, be credible, it goes against the standard of care, so they freak out. Do you see what I'm saying? And so that's why I kind of laugh and going, hey, listen, as I'm putting the material out there, just understand, I'm trying to give it to you from a different perspective so you can possibly go in a different direction. Now, so Margaret, as she said to me, she goes, can you do a little question and answer? Because I only have jump on adp.thewellnessway.com. So what we're doing today, that's why Christian and Dr. Ryan are over there. We are going to go through some of the questions that were this week because they were flooded. Now, for you guys on Instagram, Dr. Ryan, Christian, you guys have all of them there? Okay, good. They're over there getting ready for this. So what happens is we're gonna go like we did before. We're gonna go a little bit back and forth. We have some Q&A. Now remember, just to let you guys know, I'm on my email right now, okay? So if you want to, so you don't, so it can stay a little bit more private, because you're on Instagram, people can see you ask the question and everything. So let's say if you have a question, you can email me the question at pflynn@thewellnessway.com. P as in Patrick, Flynn, fly with a little That's what I taught my daughters. Like, how do you spell your last name? Just tell them it's a fly with a little okay? So FLYNN @thewellnessway.com. So pflynn@thewellnessway.com. And I'll get your email here, and hopefully we can answer it on air. And you guys know this. If, for example, we get thousands of questions, which we probably will know, I will respond, me, Dr. Lucas, or some of the other docs that deal with my emails will email you later. But you do it right now. Hopefully do it live, because I do have a bunch of you live right now. Thank you for flooding in right now. So Instagram, ADP, by email. So Dr. Ryan, I know you have a question there that we can start with. What you got?
Yes, sir. So your listeners would like to know, what do you think about Botox?
What do I think about Botox? Okay, the cosmetic industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's crazy because, during pandemics and low economies, what's really funny? What doesn't go down? Pets and products for females. You say, pet stores go crazy, never go down. Cosmetics, all the women self-care never goes down. And it's good. I understand with the culture that we live in today and the beauty standard that we have. People want to look decent. Now, that being said, so I'm all for pets. I'm all for beauty products, things like that. But okay, let's think of it this way. Dr. Ryan, think of it this way. Botox. Does anybody know how they got that name? Okay, if you think about this. There was a condition called botulism. Botulism. It's where, once again, there was things that happen where there's massive spasms, and it's conditions you can literally die from. And there's a toxin that is created from a Clostridium, so it's called botulinum. So it's Clostridium botulinum that produces a toxin that affects you neurologically, which now can affect spasms, smooth muscles, and other tissues. That's why if you look up the term botulism, it's a deadly disease. It's a deadly disease. And it's produced by a Clostridium bacteria. And like I said, once again, Clostridium botulinum. And what it does, it can literally die from it. Okay. That being said, they culture the toxin from the bacteria and they inject it into certain areas. Now, Jerome, they even use it for certain medical treatments, including headaches, including spasms, including other disorders. But, and believe it or not, I could even, if somebody suffered massively from migraine headaches, and I will say this, and I've seen it work. Let me say again, I've had people that came in with massive headaches, and the only relief they got was from Botox. So I'm cool. So let me say this. When it comes to a medical treatment, I'm basically cool with almost every medical treatment except for two, because I think that they're not only destructive, but they could cause so much harm. Sound like a New Yorker there. Cause so much harm. It was crazy. So when they inject Botox into the facial muscles, of course there's going to be something that could possibly go wrong. So would my opinion be, am I in favor of it? No. If it's basically on cosmetics? All right, ladies, it's really simple. If you want to keep your beauty and keep things going, stay healthy. Stay healthy, because you can reduce the aspect of wrinkles, you can reduce the aspect of skin aging just by staying healthy, by giving your body what it needs. Because that constant treatment, you can't put a toxin in your body. Botox, botulinum toxin, okay? A Clostridium-based bacteria that is producing a toxin to change. And on top of it, with skin, it blocks acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter, which can affect muscles, can affect smooth muscles, can affect nerves. It just scares me a little bit that way. So what I would do is this, is if you're using it for a medical treatment, I'm cool with it. If you're using it for cosmetics, I'd probably try to discourage you and just try to be healthy. Okay, next one.
Alrighty then. So for the next one, what is the number one thing that you think is making people sick?
The number one thing that I think people is making sick. Okay, let's come from this perspective. And let's do this. Let's do this. And Dr. Ryan, we'll use you for an example here, okay? Because currently, you're finishing up chiropractic school. One of the major modalities, one of the major forms of care that they teach us, but also you guys in school, even though they do a lot more, see, that's the one thing we're gonna get to in just a little too, is you can use a therapy like an adjustment, okay? And here's what happens. And let's use the aspect of headaches. People came in, they were taking Botox, said, doc, we have a headache, could adjustments possibly help? I can honestly tell you this. I don't think I've ever seen somebody that has one thing that makes them sick. Just for examples, like I don't think, you can get some relief, even change them or even get rid of some things as far as headache from adjustment that way, but it's usually there's multi-factors that cause it. Do I believe? I would say the number one thing that probably makes people sick, that's a tough one, because I don't think it's just one thing. I think that, and I think it changes. I really do. Ladies, let me give you an example. There's times in your life that mentally you are stressed out like crazy. There's times in your life that, guess what, things seem going pretty good. How you respond to foods, what kind of foods you eat and everything can change from that point. We go through different periods where we come in contact with things that are a little bit more irritating to our body. So I think I would say, instead of actually thinking about one of the major things that cause to be sick, I would say just keep as many stressors away from your body as possible. Because the less stress your body goes through, the better chance you have of maintaining what you want to, which be healthy and vibrant and very energetic. So, yeah. Now I have some, opinions on what I think could probably be one of the most detrimental things for people's health. But your doctors give that to your kids when they're little, and sets up their life to be bad. So, anyways, start from there.
All right, the next question, Doc, is what are your thoughts on testosterone pellets for women?
Okay, that's a very common question. I literally get that weekly. So let's go here. So let's look at why pellets became popular. Pellets became popular for two reasons. Number one, it's more bioidentical. That's why it's called BHRT. HRT is mainly synthetic chemicals made in the lab. HRT is actually derived from more of a natural source, but then what it is it's injected into a tissue, and it sits and releases slowly. Okay. Now here's my point. What I want you guys to do, and here's what happens. I'm going to give you just based on my clinical experience, and I'm going to bring Nicole on this, who is a nurse practitioner, and so therefore she could even do pellets. But let me explain why I like them in theory. I hate them in practicality. Okay, now let me explain. So if a person needs a little bit of hormonal support, I think pellets would do a wonderful job. I really do. Just like I think creams could do a wonderful job. Just like I think drops can do a wonderful job. So I think that moving away from HRT, which once again, a lot of doctors are very cautious of all kinds, very cautious about giving it because the rate of cancer it can lead to. Now, why does it lead from cancer? Because they become too elevated, it creates metastasis so quickly, and it could lead to cancers, including breast cancers and uterine cancers and ovarian cancers. But here's the point. So now what happens, and that's where HRT kind of moved away, they started to use more of the little bit of bioidenticals, steroid creams, and everything. And then pellets became popular because it's a one-time treatment, usually lasts for about 3 months. But here's the point where I am still very cautious on pellets because this is very common in women. They'll put a combination of different progesterones, estrogens, and testosterone there. And then when they run the labs, they're extremely elevated, especially testosterone. And if you look at when women first take their first pellet, they feel amazing. Of course, you just got a flood of hormone, so your body feels magnificent. Your husband's happy because your testosterone jacks up, so you have a sex drive because you go on skin, ladies. Hormones dictate you physically, mentally. You jack up your testosterone, guess what happened? You can take on those male characteristics like a sex drive. So therefore it's like, oh my goodness, life is better, all things, tissue's better, vaginal dryness is gone, hot flashes change. Absolutely, I agree 100%. But you keep those hormones elevated for a significant time, or even some people, this is where I do believe that if you have some genetic factors, now once again, what do I mean? A gene can only respond to what's going on with the environment. If all of a sudden you have a BRCA gene that makes you susceptible and you're jacking up your hormones higher than they're supposed to be within their normal ranges, it can be an issue. I have yet, I'm not saying it can't happen, I have yet to see a woman, and this happens significantly, that takes a pellet and then they run their labs and they're not extremely high because they're very high. And I'm like going, if anything, they should make the dosages smaller so it's not overdosing people on hormone. Yes, they're putting a good form, a bioidentical, much better at HRT. So I just think that the pellets are causing some issues that are leading to hormones being too high. And then once it's in, it's not like they can go in and take it out. Okay. Ooh, questions are coming like crazy. Hold on a second. Let me answer the. Let me ask this question here from Dana. All right, Dana, from the email. I am a postmenopausal woman, 56 years old. I hear you speak a lot about exercise, sleep, sex drive for a cycling woman. What about postmenopausal woman? Oh my goodness. Great question, Dana. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I talk a lot about cyclic women just because clinically it was my main thing I did for about 20 years. Now, why? Because as people know my past family history, as far as like, Christy and the girls, there was a lot of suffering from endometriosis, which I dug deep in and said, okay, listen, I had to figure out what was going on with her because, once again, listed as infertile, all those problems. Now, guess what happened? You start digging in and see all those estrogen levels, and then you start to know that the estrogen levels fluctuate through the month. So talking about cyclic, it's very different than menopausal. I will tell you right now, Dana, if you think about this, being 56 years old, now you probably transitioned from cyclic into menopausal, but I want you to think about this. Ladies, let's take a little different perspective on this. Do you understand that most women are taught that when you say that they're going to transition to menopause, that's like, oh my goodness, things are going to be horrible. I'm getting older, all these things. I'm going to get weak bones. I'm going to weak this. I'm going to have vaginal dryness, all these problems. That's not true. It's just the reason why you get that way is because the doctors have been taking care of you during the time, didn't help you during your cyclic years. So now you move into menopause. With organs that are fatigued, stressed, toxic, bad, and they can't transition well, so it becomes very bad. Now, so I'm gonna make a statement on here, and maybe we'll even clip this one. Ladies, let me tell you something that I can prove to you, regardless of your age. A cyclic woman is much harder to take care of when it comes to clinically than a menopausal woman, and it's much easier to keep your hormones regulated during menopause than it is when you're cyclic because of the constant changes up and down. So now, Dana, you get in the cyclic years of 50, or non-cyclic years, menopausal years of 56, and you have very little fluctuations in your hormones through the day and month. You still have the cortisol rhythm, they get up in the morning, they're down at night, but once again, you have more stability of a certain production that can stay pretty stable. That means roughly, if you need roughly 30 milligrams of hormone produced per day, just because you're not cyclic, you can actually just produce it, life is good, and you can maintain those levels. So if you think about it this way, let's start what you talked about right away. Number one, exercising. If you look, I created a chart that went viral. It's been shared millions and millions and millions of times, where all I did was take graphs saying, here's week 1, here's week 2, here's week 3, here's week 4, because roughly 4 weeks in a woman's cycle. And here's the kind of exercise that would be very beneficial to support hormone production. Well, let me tell you this when it comes to menopausal, women in menopause state. is you have more of an ability to treat your body like a guy. You really do, okay? The term cougar did not come from a cyclic woman. It didn't, because they act more cougarish, they're more saying they more have a sex drive like a guy, because once again, their testosterone levels change, they're more stable, they don't fluctuate, because if you look at some testosterone spikes in a cyclic woman, they're more towards ovulation. Big surprise. But here's the point, is you can kind of exercise on a daily basis. Now, here's one thing that's important also, is when you're a cyclic woman, you can produce hormones from certain organs because once again, the ovaries, there's no longer follicular development, there's no longer releasing egg. So you depend on other tissues to produce hormones. And let's start with your adrenals. They'll produce and then they have to go to different organs and convert. See, that's why the Dutch test is something significant that you guys need to look into, especially being menopausal. Because you know why? You get production, and yes, a lot of times production is less, but what also happens, you really depend on a lot of conversions, not only your cyclic, but especially menopausal. So therefore you want to convert those hormones, and that's why I told women, if you, especially when you're cyclic, if you deplete all your fat tissue, your body has a hard time converting. If you have a very toxic liver, if you have fatty liver, if you have all these problems, guess what happens? It's very hard to convert your hormones. So exercising for a menopausal woman, you can do a little bit more intense for a little bit longer because of your adrenals. Now you need to support your adrenals. You need to have certain foods. Once again, I'm very big on, people don't realize, the organ that uses and it consumes most of your vitamin C is your adrenals. It really is. Exercising, it's a little more consistent like a man. Sleeping, that doesn't change. That doesn't change. Women still need more sleep than men. The growth hormone, the reserves that they need to have, you by nature will have more demand for your hormones regardless if you're menopausal or cyclic. Cyclic women have much more hormone, so they need lots of sleep. Women that are menopausal, there still needs a lot of hormone production and a lot of hormone conversion. Your sleep doesn't change. 8 to 10 hours. It's kind of funny. I put that opinion out there a long time ago. I've been teaching that clinically for a long time. And no one still disagrees with it. They just have a hard time with it because women's lives can be very difficult. They can miss some sleep. They can actually have children. They have babies. If you have babies, sometimes it's hard to sleep. Totally get that. Sex drive. A woman, once again, can have a sex drive in menopause for a significant longer time than when she's cyclic. Cyclic ladies, this is where there's such a big misunderstanding, is when testosterone fluctuates dramatically, especially during ovulation, and there's certain times of the month where a woman, even being extremely healthy, has zero sex drive. Now, think about this. That's why when all of a sudden I see a woman on a pellet and testosterone levels are jacked up, I literally had a woman that had taken a pellet, had testosterone of 300. Did she have sex drive? Daily like crazy. Was her husband happy? Daily like crazy. But the sad part is this, you leave the testosterone elevated, she started to produce cysts. Just like a woman that has PCOS, it's usually dominant in some form of androgen like testosterone, which can lead to some major problems. So yes, is it important for menopausal women to be a little different, take care of themselves a little differently than cyclic? Absolutely. It's a little bit easier to take care of yourself during the menopausal years than it is during the cyclic years. It's much different because you don't have the big fluctuations. Is anything easy? Nope. Just takes effort to find out what's going on. That's what we share with that. So Dana, thank you for that question. All right, guys, what we got from Instagram and other questions?
All right.
I got a ton coming in from an email.
So is there a most important of all the estrogens, and if so, what would that be?
Okay, that's a very incredible question because that means that person has been watching, listening, or investigating themselves. Because if you see what Christian just asked, they talked about estrogens. Estrogens. They didn't say estrogen. Because let's just take it, we're talking about menopausal and talking about cyclic. This is where medicine and medical practice itself does a really incomplete job when it comes to hormones. I don't disagree that estradiol, okay, it's called E2 if you ever look it up, is the major cyclic hormone when it comes to those years. And estrone is one of the major hormones for menopausal. But they base, like everything is based on your years of life. The estradiol is important for women that are menopausal. Estrone is important for women that are cyclic. It's just that the demand and the levels are different, but they're not the only estrogen levels. And so I would say that they're all important, Christian. I would say that to pinpoint one estrogen to be more dominant, if you can have normal estradiol levels and have bad 4-hydroxy, and guess what happens? You can have devastating both physically and mental things happen. And that's even with a cyclic woman. You can have normal estrone levels, which is the major one they concern themselves with in menopause, and once again, have 2-methyl off, and guess what happens? It's a bad day for that woman. So that's why, instead of thinking that certain estrogens are more important, they're all important. Let me give you an example. If I want to bake a cake today, even know that you only have a little splash of salt or a little organic baking powder, guess what happens? If I give too much or too little of any of those, even though the cake is mainly made of, let's say gluten-free flour, guess what happens? It's going to change the whole dynamic of the cake. So we want to make sure that those are right proportions, I think, and all the ingredients are important. Okay. All right. What do we have? Let's go here. I want to take this one, guys. Let me take this one. Sherry said, "Hi, Dr. Flynn. Do you have any recommendations to help an 88-year-old man who has been at the very beginning of Parkinson's disease? He takes mucuna seed, California poppy, and cod liver oil. What else can do to keep the disease at bay?" Okay, so once again, they started with the 3 most important things because mucuna is the only known seed to have a form of L-DOPA in it. But here's what happens. When we look at this, and it's really important to focus on, is the person, even though at 88 years old, has to bring his blood sugar down. If you think about it, dementia, Alzheimer's, other neurological disorders, they're starting to list as type 3 diabetes. So it'd be very important to regulate his blood sugar. Now, here's one thing I want you to think about. This is going to sound interesting. They have a medical treatment, which I've seen work. They'll have they will inject insulin into the brain by a nose spray, which has helped people, if you look it up, because insulin is a growth hormone. See, that's why when you have so much blood sugar problems, your insulin is used up, and you only produce so much insulin. That's why you can get low on insulin. Use up so much insulin by your habits through the years that your pancreas becomes fatigued and it doesn't produce as much as it's supposed to, or it's always reacting to your sugar, so it can't be used as a growth hormone. That's why they've even used insulin spray to inject for neurological disorders like dementia, like Alzheimer's, like Parkinson's, to see if they can get some growth out of the brain. All right, next question. What do you got there, fellas?
All righty then. So, Doc, some of the people would like to know, do you think it's a good idea to drink apple cider every day?
Do I think it's a good idea?
Vinegar, sorry.
Oh, apple cider vinegar. I'm like, I believe that the majority, now remember, I will never say anything should be good for everybody, because I can honestly tell you, I was a little hungry this morning, guys. I almost made some duck eggs. I got the new fresh duck eggs from the farm yesterday. And here's what happens. The one thing that relates to my life too, allergies are so important to be concerned with, all right? So apple cider vinegar. When people say to me, "Doc, if you were to pick just one thing somebody could do to help their health," in general, I'd say start with apple cider vinegar. Cheap, effective, changes so many things clinically in the body. So do I think people should do it every day? Yes. Do I believe, based on certain conditions, there are certain conditions, including an ulcer or a major infection within the stomach, that could lead to it has some irritation in the stomach that you have to be careful with it? Absolutely. But as a blanket statement, do I think that the majority of people should take apple cider vinegar on a daily basis? Absolutely. I would honestly say that if people would start doing that before each meal, they would just see better health. And one thing about apple cider vinegar, cheap, effective, clinically sound, nutrients, enzymes, acidity of the stomach. There's so many benefits to it. And you can make it yourself if you really want to. I like to buy it, take a little swig of it out of the bottle, have a ton of it all the time. All right.
All right. You talk a lot about getting enough potassium. Do you think anyone can eat enough in a day?
Do I think anybody can? Yes. Do I think people do? No. Do you see? And if you're really focused, I don't even do it. I actually know the best potassium-based foods in the world, the highest concentrations, and I don't do it. You understand? I can honestly tell you that's why if you look at, I know a lot of people are focused on magnesium, which should. There's massive magnesium deficiencies. But you can sometimes, if you focus on a daily basis, sufficiently get enough magnesium. You need roughly 4,700 milligrams of potassium per day. And that's if everything is just kind of a relaxed day. It could get much higher than that. 4,700 milligrams per day. That's a lot of potassium. That's why I've always compensated with it when it came to taking something, just because I can honestly tell you, I look at my diet, go, nah, and I judge myself at the end of the day going, all right, before bed, I'm gonna take some supplementation. And so therefore, guess what? I'll be like, okay, 4,700, how much did I roughly get today? Probably about 2,000, so I'll throw an extra 3 grand of milligrams into my supplementation and take it before I go to bed. So therefore, I just have that sufficiency. So do I think people get enough potassium? No. Do I think that they sometimes need to supplement? Majority of people do. I would always encourage people to do it by their foods. But if you just look at general, if you kind of eat more of the potassium-based vegetables that are the highest, you're gonna have to do 7 to 10 cups of vegetables per day. Now, do I believe if you eat some organ meats, you need less of that? Absolutely. That's why I tell people focus on some organ meats. It does a very good job. So I'm gonna ask this one, guys. Here we go. This is from Morgan. Question for ADP. Have low T3, T4, free T3, but normal TSH. Also have low sex drive and white blood cell count. But most other blood work is normal. Could there be a connection? Could these be connected? Well, they're all connected. They're all connected, but let's start here. If you think about it this way, always, I think medical practice has done some wonderful things when it came to if someone has a brain tumor, you're gonna have a brain surgeon look at it, and guess what happens? It's gonna remove it. You have a problem with you broke your foot, you need a podiatrist, and they separate the body into parts. I'm cool with that, I really am. Because during emergency situations, you kind of need to separate and be a little bit of an expert on a specific tissue. But looking at how things interact or how the health of the body happens, the body's more like a Swiss watch. All the gears work together. So are they connected? Absolutely. But look at this. Low T3, low T4, low free T3. So not only the fact that you're having a production problem, you're also having a conversion problem to move to your free forms that way. So what happens is this, is when you look at low sex hormones, yes, absolutely. They're all connected. Now what I do, once again, having a production problem, there's gonna probably be some autoimmune response, because if you think about this, with T4 and T3 and free T3 being low, you expect TSH to be elevated. You expect the brain to be telling it, come on, produce, come on, produce, come on, produce. But there's probably an autoimmune response, and that's why the white blood cell count is abnormal. So yes, probably this person, Morgan, whoever you're talking about, maybe it's you probably have an autoimmune response, which now needs to be addressed. And we talked about autoimmune this month. There's some immune triggers that have led to it. There could be some infection. There could be some viral infection, bacterial infection. There could have been something that triggered the immune system. Could have been a shot. Could have been actually some deficiencies, like some selenium. There also is going to be some liver issue with you, because now one, you got to convert that T4. The majority of it converts in your liver, about 80%. Other parts in your kidneys and other tissues, about 20%. So there's multiple factors that are going on. So just by looking at this, I would say there's autoimmune, there's some liver, there's productions, and once again, that can all be addressed if you know how to reverse or rebuild that. And there is no drug to do that, or surgery. Okay, next question.
So, Doc, are supplements required to heal hormones?
Are supplements required? No, but yes, okay? Now here's why. If you can get sufficient nutrients, if you can take things and keep your lifestyle and keep your body stress as minimal as possible, I don't think it's needed. I don't. Now, let's live in reality. Time by reality, just the physical and mental things that both men and women go through, they're gonna need some support. I just told you, think about this, let's talk about potassium. I'm looking at my lifestyle through the day and going, crap, I didn't eat enough. So I have to supplement with it. See, so therefore, when we look at the things that are going on, I would love if nobody took a supplement. I personally would. I think it would be fantastic if people didn't have to take Chase. I think it'd be perfect if people didn't have to take potassium. I think it'd be perfect if this. But the demands for our body, and that's why you always see me preach it. Think of it this way. I'm always trying to say to people, get enough organ meats, get enough sauerkraut, get enough, sprouts. Don't eat sugar like crazy. All these things can lead to sufficiency and things for your body to work, so you don't need to supplement things. But most people don't do those things. Most people in our culture, even culture today, do you understand it makes it very difficult in our life today to be healthy? It is. We are set up to fail most of the time. We're set up to fail for our advice from what you get from how to raise your kids, how to raise your teenagers, how to take care of your hormones. Literally, I can honestly tell you, let's go back to some messages, that this happens on a regular basis. I can honestly tell you that just the thyroid hormone panel, which is nothing more than just me wrote a panel of blood work that could be done to give an idea of stuff going on. The patients are like, my doctors won't run it. Now, and they probe a little bit and say, okay, are these real blood markers? And like, yes, then why won't you run them? And when they push them, they say, you know something, there's nothing we can do with them if they're abnormal anyways. Okay, I'm cool with that. At least you admitted it, because once again, but it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be evaluated, it doesn't mean they're looked at, because if they're not looked at, they lead to other health conditions. And the health condition, they're sitting at the end. I always tell people this, our current healthcare system is like, I want you to imagine that you're driving on let's go back to this. If you've ever been to Maui, and you ever went to the road to Hana, or even worse, up at Kapalua, there's this road that you don't want to go down because you may fall off the edge. I'm not joking. I was scared out of my mind. I thought I was meeting Jesus that week, okay? When I was like, I'm literally in the vehicle and I look and I can't see any of the road and my tires probably had this much space before it go off and there is no rail, okay? So I want you to picture this. I want you to picture that the road is tough. And doesn't mean you can't drive on the road. You just got to keep a very narrow, if I had turned my wheel, 6 inches I'd have been off the cliff. And here's the analogy when it comes to our healthcare system. Nobody tells you that driving that road could be bad for you. Well, I've done it. I did this. Yep. And come to find out, there's people that run off the road. And let's say this. Let's say at the bottom, there was an ambulance, there was a hospital, there was doctors waiting, and they're the experts, and you fall off the cliff. And believe it or not, they save your life. You understand? And then praise the gods of the bottom of the cliff because they saved a life. And that means they know everything. But you know what is this? The doctors don't go, hey, don't drive down that road. It's bad. Could lead to something bad. See, that's what I tell people. That's our healthcare system. They're waiting at the bottom of the cliff for you to fall off. And anybody come around and says, don't go that way. Quackery. That's stupid. Yes, you can do it. A person went down there. You know, that's why I love that when it comes to certain medical treatments. You're saying, well, I did this and I'm not bad, but a lot of people are. You're saying, and you don't even know if you're bad. You're just basing it on how you feel or your symptoms. So, yes, that would be my answer for that. All right, what do you got?
All right, so Doc, I suffer from Hashimoto's and it started immediately after I got the popcorn shot. My doctor says there's no relationship to it. What's your opinion?
He lied to you. He lied to you. You know, and now what do we mean by popcorn? Because once again, YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that, if you say the C word, you know, they kind of freak out a little bit on you that way. So we're following those rules. But if you're on adp.thewellnessway.com, in the future we're gonna move a segment that's private to where we can say anything we want because they can't kick me off my own platform. But the idea is this, we're just talking about this. We just talked about autoimmune month. There has to be an immune trigger. Hashimoto's is an immune issue. So therefore, they just lied to you. See, that's the thing. It's kind of funny. Every medical treatment comes with damage. Period. Every medical. That's why when I say don't get a mammogram, I'm just telling you that there's damage, regardless if you think it life saves you or not. There is damage. You can choose what you want to do, but especially when there's other tools. Just for example, it's like when the whole last thing happened over the last 3 years. There is other things that people can do, but when they try to act like they're the experts to tell you what to do, they're just giving you an opinion based on their biases. Do you understand? It's very difficult for people to admit that they're wrong. Very difficult. I don't care what it is. Very difficult for people to admit that they were wrong about something. And especially when it comes to healthcare, because they try to say, well, it's my expertise. Well, it's really funny. And we're going to do this. We are going to do the history of medicine. There's doctors that stood by treatments that are like, it's the greatest thing in the world, this, and it killed a lot of people. And I don't even care if you even take the treatment. It's just that to act like you know the all end and end to be and everything that way is very frustrating. I'm like going, hey, listen, give an opinion and just be able to stand your opinion, and your opinion can change. It really can. That's why medicine changes all the time. All right, here we go. I got one right here. Are LifeWave patches legit? The company claims that wearing the various patches increases glutathione, melatonin, stimulates stem cells, and am I wasting my money? I don't even know what LifeWave patches are. Does anybody know what LifeWave patches are? Dr. Ryan, you want to Google search it and see what LifeWave patch is? Here's what happens. This I've always said this, Jody. If I don't know something, I will never give an opinion. So I don't know what they are. Yes, but I will say this: if it's a multi-level company, I know I'm going to tick a lot of people off. They always make claims. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not saying it's not this. It's just that yeah. So I don't know about them. So therefore, I don't want to give any opinion on that because I'd be just saying something there. All right, let's see here. Kidney stones. Here we go. Shannon asked about, can you tell me about kidney stones, are caused from, and how to prevent them? All right, let's start here. Kidney stones are extremely common for multiple reasons. If you ever look at kidney stone itself, they can be based on oxalates, calcium. They can be built on this. But let's start here. If we look at kidney stones in general, if you want to look at some of the things I think we're very deficient in that lead to it, is K2. If you notice, here's what happened a long time ago. When vitamin D became very popular in the early 2000s, people started taking vitamin D like crazy. And there was a great hormonal change that happened. But everything has to be balanced within the body. And so vitamin D mobilizes calcium within the bloodstream. And therefore they started to notice that there was an increase of kidney stones. Very common. So then people say, well, look, can't do vitamin D because it'll be bad. No, because what balances it out, calcium is mobilized by vitamin D, but K2 gets it into where it belongs, including bone and other tissues. So therefore, you now see a lot of vitamin D3, K2 supplements, which is important. And there's a ratio to it that way. Most people do not eat enough vitamin K2. They do not. It's one of the reasons why I like sauerkraut. It's one of the reasons why I like certain animal foods. It's why I like certain fermented foods, because they have K2. So I always tell people, start with K2. Because then even when you do eat certain oxalates, because there is a very high concentration usually oxalates in several constituents, it's not all that, because there's going to be factors that do come in there besides just oxalates. But guess what happens? If you look at this, spinach has a lot of oxalates. That's why I tell people you want to prepare your spinach. That's why I know it's kind of funny. I'm not against everything this way, but you want to prepare your vegetables. It's important. I would always want to steam or saute a vegetable, then eat them raw. Now, here's what happens. I already know the criticism. People say, well, Doc, when you prepare certain vegetables, you can lose some nutrients. Yeah, that's true. You can lose certain enzymes, especially if it's a fat-based food. But the idea is this, I'm more concerned about some of the anti-nutrients that if your foods are not prepared. For example, one of my favorite herbs on the planet, by far, is turmeric. But if you eat turmeric raw, it's loaded with phytic acid, and there can be some problems from it. So I like to see turmeric soaked, prepared, and then it affects the amount of phytic acid in there, and then you actually extract the major things from turmeric, like the curcumins, in all forms, not just one, that really help you in your body. So get your K2 levels increased. Either certain foods, just no joke, you can even Google search K2 foods. You're gonna see a lot of fermented foods. You're gonna see a lot of cheeses. I can honestly tell you, there's a cheese that I love that is loaded with K2. It's the highest concentration of K2, and I have that every couple days, and it's wonderful, and that's why I do like certain fermented cheeses and animal products, because it has the highest levels of K2. All right, what we got next, Docs?
So you talked about options for mammograms and different things. So the question then is, what would you suggest instead of yearly mammograms?
So here's what happens. What I have seen be very effective when it does come is actually using certain ultrasounds. There's a term called ABUS, ABUS. It's, once again, and also, if you ever look at this, when they do ultrasound, or excuse me, apologize, mammograms, once again, they can see certain abnormal tissues, but they don't know if it's just a scar, they don't know if it's cancer, so they send you for other diagnostics. The other diagnostics that they send you for are much safer. Let me say again, that's the reason why I don't like mammograms. It'd be different if mammograms were the only tool. See, that's my point. My point of talking about mammograms was a simple fact that it's become such a standard of care. And every doctor is programmed to think that they're okay. See, that's the thing. Here, almost every doctor was programmed to say, hey, guess what? The last 3 years, this form of treatment is great for you. And if you went outside the norm, they criticize you. And there's a lot of doctors within the medical field that hate mammograms. But what do they talk about them? Because here's what happens. They've been doing them forever. And the sad part is this. But they've come up with greater diagnostic tools even within the medical field. See, so when I'm telling people, as far as like mammograms, there's other great diagnostic tools, I'm not actually saying thermography. I would not compare thermography and mammograms together. It's not a contest. Which one's this? I wouldn't even encourage a person, if you didn't want to do a mammogram, do a thermography. Use thermography for what's used for, but I would actually do a little different technology medically that would help. I think ultrasound and MRIs are two of the best forms to do it that way. And once again, there's less chance of having some damage from them than there is mammograms. So just because I say don't do a mammogram, I'm not saying jump to a thermography. There's things that thermography has massive benefit for, but there's things that also are very disadvantages that you can't see. All right, guys, got a couple more minutes. So we got for just a question or two.
Cool. So, Doc, what are some simple things that I can do to get rid of toxins in my environment?
What are some simple things to get rid of toxins? Mm-hmm. Here's what happens. If you ever look at this, and this is kind of a misleading thing, because people know that I think the greatest food on the planet is liver, heart, and kidney. And when you talk about liver, the first thing that they say is, wait, the liver holds a lot of toxins. That's not true. The liver has to deal with a lot of toxins. Does anybody know the number one tissue that holds toxins is? Adipose tissue, fat tissue. That's why when people lose weight, that's why when people go through detox process that way, trying to metabolize some of their fat, aka break it down, toxins are released and recirculate. So therefore, number one, if you want to reduce the toxic burden in your body, reduce your fat. Reduce your fat. Decrease your calorie intake for a while. Increase your support to the liver. Decrease the sugar to nothing when you first do it. Because when you do that, guess what happens? You deplete your glycogen within your liver. You start to remove your fatty liver disease. You start to get great regeneration. And then your liver is going to, consume fat from your muscles and your viscera. And then you're going to break it down. You're going to break it down. See, it goes back to the liver, and the body says, okay, I'm going to bring it back to the liver. I'm going to metabolize that. I'm going to break that down, and I'm going to convert it into energy and water. And so therefore, it's important to understand that if you want to reduce the toxic burden, number one is reduce your fat that you do have. Number two, stop putting toxins in your body. Stop putting toxins in. And then number three, there's unavoidable toxins. I'm going to walk outside and probably going to breathe some fumes in. So what I want to make sure is I don't have a toxic burden I'm putting on myself, but then I also want to do is make sure that I'm keeping my immune system, which is meant to do what? Which is meant to not only scavenger after everything that shouldn't belong there as far as bad tissues, cancer, things like that, but also toxins that come in. I want to keep my immune system at a normal level. I want to keep my liver in great shape. And I also want to make sure that I'm actually have not putting any toxic burden in there. Now, watch this. We're gonna do this experiment for everybody watching on both Instagram and YouTube and our own platform. And be honest with me, okay? Raise your hand if you've eaten anything over the last 2 weeks you know you shouldn't have. You understand? See, right now, how do you stop the toxic burden? Don't do what you just raised your hand, which you knew you did. And Durham, is it difficult? Yes. Yes, it is. It's difficult. Let me give you a perfect example, okay? If I wanted to, the other night, which was kind of cool, my daughters, for Christmas, got me a present to go see Jeff Dunham, the ventriloquist, who was incredibly funny. And so we went and had great seats, got to sit up right up front towards the thing, and no joke. Let's say that I wanted to get a bottle of water, okay? Well, guess what happens? I wouldn't get a bottle of water. Number one, because it's gonna be Dasani, which is basically tap water for Coca-Cola, and it's in a plastic BPH and other toxic leaking bottle. So even if I just wanted water, well, doc, go over to the bubbler and get some water out of there. Chlorine and a bunch of toxins and birth control and other things that are from the city water. See, you think about it this way, we're kind of set up for failure. We really are. And all I just wanted was a bottle of water. Nope, didn't have a bottle of water. Just sat there thirsty. You see? Now, did I really sit there thirsty? No, because I actually had some stuff brought from here. I grabbed my own stuff. Guess what happens? So, but the idea is, let's say I did want just even a bottle of water sitting there for 2 hours. It would have been something that I couldn't do, or I had to introduce some toxins in my system. Take the burden off. And we're set up for failure, we really are. It's really sad that we're set up for so much failure. Okay, last question. What do we got there, guys?
Last question. I have watched so many of your videos. Why do you make so much sense?
That's a good one to end on there, Christian. Okay. Man to man, father to father, parent to parent, you know, just a guy just trying to do something good. I try to put myself in your shoes. It's empathy. So I sit back and said, what if I'm a guy who, you know, wants to take the journey and do things right for your health? And you have all the people that you've been conditioned to think and trained and act and take. Because here, think of this. Let's say that you're a 40-year-old woman right now and you went to doctors the way you were when you were young. Your mom told you this, your grandma told you this, everybody told you this, yet you're sitting there 40, unhealthy, overweight, stressed out, all things of this. And imagine, just from being a female and have hormonal problems, I love how people speak so loudly about them being an expert. I love how doctors do this. This happens. You know, I'm the expert and Dr. Flynn's just a chiropractor. So I just got a question for the woman. Well, how you doing? Well, I'm sick as hell, this. So who cares what he says? But here's what happens. Now let me say something. This is going to surprise people. Just because he's wrong doesn't make me right. So I sit back and I go, okay, can I give people in a very simple way the actions, the thought process, the perspective that people go, huh, you know what I'm saying? And so therefore I work very hard of analogies and breaking things down and put myself in person's shoes and knowing that that person, even if I had a lab and the doctor had a lab, that when they went in with anybody else, that they would walk out just as confused when they walked in. I said, listen, can I sit down and break this down for people to where it's like, now it makes great clinical sense, but then they can go research themselves. They can take control of their own health and they don't have to say, they don't have to play, see, I'm never gonna take a person and say, here, I'm the expert, listen to me. No, let me explain some stuff. If it makes sense, cool. You know what I'm saying? That's what I tell people is this. I have invited, we just talked about this the other day with our media team. I have literally invited 100+ people on this show that disagree with me. That disagree with me. Now, people say, well, why would you do that? Because here's what happens. Let's pick a topic. Let's pick mammograms, okay? Let's pick mammograms. Let's pick popcorn, as you guys know what I'm talking about. Let's pick any shot. I would literally have somebody sit right here, treat them with massive respect. Then what happens is this. I'd let them share their ideas. I'd share my ideas. We discuss about those ideas. And then I tell people, you guys would choose. I mean this humbly, but I'd destroy anybody that would want to come and talk about the popcorn shot. I invited Dr. Ra from Purveya many times. He has no problem going on TV and perpetuating lies and You don't see me right now going, hey, what's all these people being damaged from? No, now we got a flu shot. Now we're going to do that. Well, cool. I've always said this. It's really funny. The news stations call here all the time. And they say, you know, would you be willing to do a segment? I said, yes, if it's live. Guys, we're live right now. You say there's no editing. There's no editing. There's no preparation. Questions come through. I mean, it said, and like Michael, Jane, Shannon, Dana, Morgan, Jody, Stephanie, Aaron. I mean, the questions keep coming in. They're not prepped for. Do you understand? They're just like, okay, got these questions. Boom, let's answer them that way. And, you know, it's really funny. It's like, I will only do a live segment because therefore I don't want things edited. I learned that a long time ago, that all of a sudden that there was a question on a flu shot a long time ago, and this is about probably 10 years ago. And they said, hey, you know, we love your viewpoint, blah, blah, blah. They tell you all the bull crap. And all of a sudden the TV station came over, and it was Fox News too, of all things. And you know, they're fair and balanced. No, they're not. You can't be fair and balanced when your major money is provider is Pfizer. Anderson Cooper, actually his major thing, well, actually all media is controlled by, do you understand that pharmaceutical drug companies give more to media than anybody else? And do you think that they don't control them? That's what I said. You have to have your head in the sand to think that. That's what I'm like, the news said, the doc said, where do you think it came from? And they're wrong. And here's what happens. And just because I'm telling them that they're wrong doesn't mean I'm right. Let's sit down, let me break it down and make sense to you, so therefore you can make a choice. See, do you understand that you've dealt with this the last 3 years? Where this made sense to you, you went to talk to another family member, and the biggest defense that they could have is, well, my doctor said. Yeah, but your doctor is wrong. Do you understand the medical field is wrong most of the time, if not all the time, when it comes to health? They're wrong all the time. And top of it, here's what happens. I kind of laugh when people say, you know, when I talked about mammograms, this woman that's a radiologist, go look at my TikTok, my Instagram, and she tried to do the thing. She's like, it's chiropractor. Yeah. Do you understand? Being a chiropractor gives me a dramatically different perspective, because your perspective is wrong. It hurts people. And that's why it makes so much sense. But see, and the worst they can say is try to attack credibility. I'm like, oh, no. I'm telling you the effects of mammograms and what you're not telling people, which they can look up and make sense. It's just that the biggest thing they do is they can never tear on the message, so they have to tear on the messenger. Remember that. When somebody cannot debate your information, when someone cannot debate your ideas, they have to attack the person. And that's why a lot of people don't say anything. Think about this. See, I tell people hey, if you don't think of a history of attacking people based on what they believe who is credible, then guess what happens? All you Christian people, guess what happens? The experts, the religious leaders, you know, killed the person that knew everything. You understand? They tried to discredit him, to the point they killed him. See, if you think that's not human nature, because Jesus came along and said, you're all wrong. You know what I'm saying? And the religious leaders were like, oh, he's a, you know. It's been going on for centuries. So, yeah. There we go, got a little biblical reference there. Anyways, Christian, Dr. Ryan, thank you so much for being here today. Guys, thank you. All these questions that we got here and some of that we'll continue to answer. We'll reach out to you, and because there's some good ones here. Hormones after cancer and hysterectomy. Ooh, Jane, I definitely want to answer that one and stuff like that, because here's what happens. Now watch this. Wait, let's do this really quickly. Hello, Dr. Flynn. Love your Instagram. I'm watching your Instagram live right now. Here's my question. Jane, great question. I had a mastectomy 12 years ago. Now let's just stop right there. I have no problem that you had surgery. No problem that you may have needed it. Not saying you didn't need it. You understand? I have no problem with that. Okay, I understand. If something's justified, I'm cool with it. Afterwards, I had a full hysterectomy to ward off ovarian cancer. Since then, I have had a difficult time with my weight. Now, let me show you how I think. if you think about some of the things that relate to just having a mastectomy and having a hysterectomy, would you agree with me that there's going to be some hormonal issues? That means this person probably has some liver issues, has some adrenal issues, probably has some thyroid issues, because they all work together like Swiss watch. Plus, once again, now that you can't convert those hormones, and therefore it's going to cause fatty liver, different things like that. Okay, here we go. I eat very healthy diet with healthy fats, avocados every day, great. Protein, great. Vegetables. Since my hormones were eradicated after hysterectomy, well, that's not totally true, because what happens is this: you're going to reduce on hormones, but you can still produce them. And I cannot take any hormone treatment after cancer, which is true, because it can cause cancer. This woman's very educated. Thank you, Jane. Is there a correlation with my depleted hormones? Am I weight gain now? Yes, yes, and yes. Yes, because here's what happens. Think about this. When you take an organ like your ovary that has been removed, now think about this, is you take a major producer away, and therefore you're left with other organs to compensate. But just like when you're in the menopausal state where those ovaries have now shut down and you're not growing an egg, you depend massively on hormone conversion. And if you cannot convert those hormones because you have fatty liver and other conditions, your body says, listen, I'm going to produce something that can help in the process. And guess what it is? Fat. Adipose tissue. That's why if you look, adipose tissue can even be listed as an endocrine gland. Endocrine gland. Say it again. Endocrine gland, something that produces hormone and converts it. So yes, you're on the right track. I am very upset at my rising weight, as I am a print model, and this has affected my work. And obviously my health most of all. Any suggestions? Yes, yes, and yes. Okay, I do. I have a lot of suggestions. As you always say, opinions. Hey, thank you for listening, Jane. Thank you, and all your great information. Yes. Now, here's where I would state. So where do we start? So let's go here, guys. In the frustration that this person has, where do we start? Labs. Because I believe this wonderful woman, even though the doctors may have saved her life, listen, I won't even take away from her the medical field that this person's life probably could have been saved by removing it so the cancer didn't spread. Do that. Cool. Okay? But she's still left in a depleted, bad state. She is. She needs a carpenter type doctor to look at going. So I don't even care about her past history. I care about observing, getting the thyroid and hormones panel done, getting the Dutch done, because it's going to show me hormone conversions, hormone productions, hormone destruction, tissue destruction, organ destruction that contributes to this. So yes, Jane. Jane, I'm going to email you right away, because this is one thing that can be done. Because on top of this, she's a print model, so it's affecting her career. And the one thing is this: it's affecting her career. But think about it this way: this woman, statistically, if you look at what doctors tell you, eat right, exercise, and weight will be just fine. Well, this woman, once again, just by nature, she probably is trying to do the best things possible moving forward, but it's not working. It's not working because inside is not working right. And there's no drug or surgery that's going to make you normal. Actually, it's been the opposite. It's made you abnormal. So, Jane, I'm personally going to reach out today and help you. Okay? Thank you for the questions, guys. Thank you for this. Christian, Dr. Ryan, Travis is always crushing it. Thank you for all the great work. And I want to say this. I can honestly tell you, being gone for a couple weeks and having a wonderful wedding with Faith and Devin, going to one of the most beautiful, well, to my opinion, one of the most beautiful places in the world, Hawaii. Coming back, it's been absolutely fantastic, because I get to spend time with wonderful people. Christian works extremely hard. Travis works extremely hard. All the team, clinics, everything. Ryan, Dr. Ryan, future Dr. Ryan, intern right now. It's great being around wonderful people that are trying to bring great information like this. Please do me a favor, guys. If you're on Instagram right now, share this. If you're, tell somebody about this show that way. As you can show this, I've made it very clear. We don't try to sell you anything. We try to give you information, so just like as you put these things together, you can now put the right things together for your health, so you can live a much better life and much healthier life, which is always something we're trying to accomplish with you. Once again, guys, my name is Dr. Patrick Flynn. Thank you so much for watching ADP Day. We'll see you next week. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a single video or live stream. Each week, on a different perspective, we bring you the most cutting-edge information on health you won't find anywhere else. For more information on this topic, please visit our website. A Different Perspective offers life-changing information and resources to share and explore. A Different Perspective is leading a health revolution.